I love it.
I love it. Well, thank you for being here. So I know that when I told you about today, it's because so many people were writing in and they wanted an episode all about the Vampire Diaries and the originals and to celebrate you and your work. And that's what we're going to do today. So thank you for joining.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, all right, I'm going to get right to it. We have a lot to get to. You obviously are a brilliant actor. I know, tell me to stop, but you're so good at what you do. And it's through playing Rebecca that you gain this, worldwide amazing fandom on the original, on the Vampire Diaries, and then of course the spin-off, the originals. So, bring me back for a minute. What was it that initially attracted you to wanting to be a part of that whole Vampire Diaries world and genre?
It's really funny because the way that it sort of works when you're auditioning and you don't have a very big profile is you just show up and you don't know much about the script, and it's definitely not a straight offer. You have to audition for the role and hope to God that you get it. So at that point, I'd done a little bit, I'd done a show called H2O and then a guest role on Pretty Little Liars, but I didn't really sort of have a significant following or sort of much on my resume to grant a straight offer. So I went in, I showed up, I didn't know anything about the role. It was I think a 3-episode guest star to start with. And then when I got there, I realized that, they had these plans and these hopes for this character, but obviously it was going to be dependent on whether the actress worked in the role and how people responded and all of those things. So it started off as something a lot smaller than what it eventually became. And I'm just so grateful that I had this very long 7-year journey because it could have gone either way.
Right. Now, had you seen the show prior to auditioning, or you were going?
I'd seen a little bit. I hadn't watched the whole thing. I knew that it had this incredible following and a huge fan base. I also just didn't want to get too invested in something, to be honest, in case it didn't pan out. So, but then I, of course, started watching when I booked the role.
So what is an audition for that type of show even like? I mean, did you go in and were you reading opposite other people? Did you have a lot of different auditions? Did you try out for other parts? How did it all happen?
It was just with the casting. I went in. I didn't get the job, but this one I luckily did.
Well, I mean, Rebecca is a fan favorite. She is feisty. She is like the queen of one-liners, and she also has some heart. We see moments of her character with heart. So, what have you loved about getting to play such an epic role?
It was just so dynamic. There were so many different elements to the character, and also she's kicked ass a lot, which is really fun. Those roles don't come up very often where you get to beat dudes up and throw them across the room and rip out someone's heart. So that and the one-liners were amazing. The writers were so great at just leading into that character and giving me these epic lines, and just every part of the character was fun because I got to show this badass, kick-ass vampire and then this vulnerable girl who just wanted to have a family and find love. So there was so much to cover in the 7 years that I got to play her. And I really do miss her. I miss her a lot.
Yeah. Did you ever find yourself going kind of off script and ad-libbing a line here and there because you were so in character? Or was it pretty much true to script?
Not really. You kind of have to stick to the script on the show, or at least that's how we worked on that show. So they would let us do little bits here and there, but usually, all those lines that I say, they were written by some very, very clever writers.
I mean, there are BuzzFeed articles about some of the favorite one-liners of your character, and it's like, Rebecca's a feminist, she's for equality, all these great things,
Awesome.
that you brought to her, which is super cool. Why do you think she's somebody who resonated in such a big way with the fan base, even in the beginning when she was kind of, she showed a lot of darker sides to her, right?
I think because even though she's this supernatural character, there's such a strong human element to her,
Right.
and people can relate to that. And they also it was fun. It was a great show. There were great characters that I got to interact with, and I think that's part of it too. It's not just Rebecca; it's the entire Originals family. Or on the Vampire Diaries, it was the Salvatore brothers, and there was so much great interaction and dialogue between the characters. I think that only helped Rebecca.
Yeah, the writing on this show on both shows is incredible. So at what point did you realize, this spin-off show was happening? Like you said, you started on this original 3-episode guest star kind of thing, and then fast forward to 2 years or so later, you're starring in a spin-off show. So how did it all happen for you?
It's funny because
keep it coming?
I just heard Julie tell this story recently. So we shot this episode called The Originals Ball in season 3, and Chris Grisma, who ended up coming over with us as well to the Originals, he took this photo of the original family on the stairway. I think it was Evander Holyfield's mansion in Atlanta that we shot at, and I believe that Julie tells that she sent the picture to Peter Roth and said, "Here's your spinoff." On the other side of that, we had Joseph and myself had been sort of talking about, oh, that would be really fun, and maybe the fans had started tweeting, and we would retweet or discuss it, but it was just a pipe dream. We had no control over that. So when we heard that it was a possibility and that they were interested, and we obviously leaned into it and were very excited. But we don't have any control over stuff like that. That's all the studio and the network and the creators, and we just go along for the ride.
So did you have any creative input at all in shaping what would be the future, or no?
I mean, they trusted us with our characters, and they definitely were very open to suggestion of, what we felt during the filming process. But in general, they created these characters, this world. They knew where they wanted to go with it. Julie has an amazing vision. And Mike Narducci, he was the co-creator or the co-showrunner. And we just, we trusted them, and luckily for us, they came up with 5 seasons of really cool, exciting story.
And then you guys put in the work. Like, people don't realize how much work it takes to create a show and to be on and working these overnight shoots and early morning.
The night shoots are tough. That's the thing that I didn't really think about when I started on a vampire show. And you realize that you spend a lot of long, cold nights out there filming, and lying on the ground covered in fake blood, all kinds of mental things. But it was totally worth it, and I loved almost every second of it. I won't say every second because that's a lie. But I loved the majority of it, and even though it had its moments and we were tired and there were long days, especially season 1 of any show, it's just you're trying to find your feet, and the writers are learning the show as well, and so it's a little more difficult in the first season, but it was such a blessing.
So when you look back at all of that hard work you put into the show, all of the scenes and seasons, what moments for your characters stick out to you that you're like, oh my God, I'm going to forever cherish this scene I did, or it's going to go down as a favorite? Are there a couple that you just love when you think about?
There's a scene at the very first episode of The Originals that I'm in, or maybe it might be the second. I had like 1 or 2 scenes early on in the first, but the second episode where I walk into a bar and I like break a pool cue over my knee and I beat up a bunch of dudes with it. That was really fun. And then anytime that we have these scenes as a family where all of us are in the room, or like in the finale we had all of the characters together at this dinner, those are the ones that I remember, because it's just so fun being with everyone and getting to be on set and film and spend time together. We really felt like a family after all those years,
Oh, I bet. Now I have to ask, was there, there's so much hand cutting, blood coming off the hand throughout the course of the show. How do you do that?
It's all, it's all trickery and magic, right? They'll have like prop knives that squirt blood out the side, and you'll shoot from a different angle, and then you'll have it already placed on your hand. So There was certainly some injuries, I think, along the way and stunt sequences and that sort of stuff. But we have a pretty great team, or had a pretty great team of people guiding us through all that.
What was one of the toughest scenes for you to do in the course of both shows?
So I don't remember what episode it was, but it was definitely season 1. I want to say maybe episode. No, I can't remember. Season 1 of the originals. We were shooting in an old insane asylum, and I think it's an episode where Rebecca Klaus is chasing her, and she's having these visions, and it was freezing. It was 12 degrees, and we weren't dressed in winter clothes. I had jeans on and a jacket, but it wasn't like a puffer and gloves or anything like that.
Right.
I just remember shooting that episode, and it was so cold in this it was in Milledgeville, Georgia, this old insane asylum. I don't know if I think it was. I don't know if we were shooting as an insane asylum or it was one. But it was so freezing, and I had this scene where I had to lie on the ground, and it was, I just couldn't stop shaking, and like I was trying to stop the air coming out of my mouth, and they were like, Claire, we can't hear what you're saying, we can't see. I was like, my jaw was frozen together, I couldn't get the words out. And I remember that so clearly because, first of all, I just didn't know it got that cold in Georgia. I guess apparently it does. But it turns out it's very hard to act at 12 degrees.
I would imagine so. My gosh. Yet you all make it look seamless. So there was also another scene. You were in a cemetery being chased by Klaus, by Joseph Morgan. And that was intense. And you were, crying and running. And I've got to say, you can break down like that. I don't know if it takes you a minute behind the scenes, but it seems like you're always in touch with your emotions.
Honestly, a lot of it is like when you're really tired and exhausted from filming, you're more emotional in general. And then, sometimes your body just doesn't know the difference and it reacts that way, and it doesn't know if you're acting or if it's real or whatever. But it's, I do like doing jobs where I don't have to cry so much as well.
Yeah, that was a big job with a lot of crying, right? And especially the scenes with you and Klaus were so much fun to watch because you never knew where they were going to go. How was it working with Joseph? And were you ever genuinely scared by one of his performances?
Yeah, totally. He's a master. I mean, he's so good at what he does, and he really he doesn't mess up. He commits. He's so professional, and I loved getting to work with him. He just is really such a talented guy. So. Yeah, I mean, it makes my job easier, or anyone else's job easier, when you have someone that is that professional and that good on the other side of things.
Yeah, no, and you guys had great chemistry. It was so fun to watch. Now, I got a lot of comments about the love life of Rebecca. Some people love the relationship with Matt. Some people love the relationship with Marcel. Some people were like, those dudes were not good enough for her because she's such a badass. So, how was all the love storylines for you, and were you satisfied with them, or did you wish she kind of ended up with someone that she didn't? Like, what was that like for you?
I loved my storyline with Marcel, with Charles, just because he's so awesome and really talented actor. And it's funny, we were talking about it. It was 5 seasons, right? So he was one of my longest relationships. We played love interest for a long time, and he's like a brother to me, of course. But it just, I loved that storyline for them, and it really worked for the show, I think. And he was a great teammate.
Yeah, you guys had fun. It was fun too to bounce around the different periods. That's what I liked about the show. It wasn't a period piece show, I guess, but in a way it was. It was just fun that you could go back and forth, and I'm sure as an actor that was fun. Yeah,
it's so fun. I mean, the wigs and the corsets and the tight dresses and all those things I could do without, but
yeah, I don't envy you for having to put that on.
Not that fun.
No.
But
now, were you at peace with how Rebecca's storyline wrapped up towards the end of the show?
Yeah, I think that that was what should have happened. She ended up with Marcel, Yeah. And after such a long time, it was nice for her to get to go off and live the life she wanted to.
I'm always fascinated in your line of work. Things are shot so out of order all the time. So what was the last scene you shot in the entire series?
That last scene, we were in New Orleans.
Really?
Oh, wait, hold on. Gosh, you're making me think now because it was so long ago. There was definitely one of the last scenes I shot. We went to New Orleans as the last piece of filming. I may have had like another scene after, I can't remember, but where I said goodbye was the last scene I ever filmed. I was a mess. I was bawling my eyes out. I couldn't believe that I was never going to see these people again. Like, the crew becomes your family. And, you know, I made a little speech. I could barely breathe trying to get through it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when you get home, I imagine, and it's all done, does it take a bit of time to come down from an experience like that?
Yeah, for sure. It was so strange, you know. I had, when you do these shows and you're lucky enough to be on them for a long time, you become so close to all the people you work with because you work such long hours and you spend so much time with them, and it's a pretty intense emotional experience. So when you just all of a sudden are like, oh, I'm never going to see you again, potentially, it's hard, you know. But I've luckily been able to maintain a relationship with a lot of people from that show.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice to hear. Now, for your character, would you have wanted anything differently for her? Was there a storyline you were like, oh, I wish I could have explored that?
Might have been nice to go to like the south of France or something, you know, to Greece. Rebecca takes Greece. But, you know, we played these characters for so long, we got the chance to explore so many different areas of their lives and, you know, different arcs and stuff. So I don't feel like I missed out on anything.
Yeah, no, I think that the stories that were told were really cool, and it seems like you had a good range to explore as well, you know?
For sure.
And a lot of fans were very excited that you and Phoebe did H2O, right? And then working on this show together. Was that such a crazy experience? Because that doesn't happen a lot.
No, it doesn't. I don't know that I've ever had that experience. And so Phoebe and I basically grew up together. We did our first show. It's her birthday, by the way. She's in Australia, so it was technically yesterday, but it's today, July 12th. She, you know, is like a sister to me. We've spent so many years together and we've learned so much in the business. And, you know, from being like 16 years old to now, I mean, we haven't done anything together in a few years, but obviously we're still really close. And she's just doing so incredibly well. And, you know, she's a movie star over there in Australia right now. And then she's coming back to do this huge project in the States. So it's awesome. You know, I feel proud of her like a sister. It's so nice to have been able to have this experience together. That's
so cool. And like I said, it's so rare. So it's nice that I didn't realize it was from 16 on.
Yeah. So we did H2O when I was 16, and I might have been just turning 17. And then that was a few years. And then I came out to America first. She came just after, and we sort of stayed together. And then we had apartments in the same little complex for a while. And then we were both in Atlanta, and it's really wild to think about how our careers have sort of taken us to the same places.
Well, I think I saw a lot of comments when I announced you as my guest saying people are hopeful there'll be a third project the two of you do together.
So I hope so. It would be awesome.
You never know, right?
Maybe we'll just do a YouTube video.
Well, that works too. I think people will love that. Let me get to a few of the fan questions. Now, these were the most popular questions I received when I announced you as my guest. The first is, a lot of people know you mentioned you would be down to be a part of the Legacies show at some point.
Yes.
How likely is that? Have any conversations so far been had about
that?
Yeah,
listen, I don't know how much I can talk about this without getting in trouble. I feel like maybe they can't yell at me anymore. But we've been trying to make it happen, and, you know, there was potentially going to be a chance to make that happen. And it's just, you know, COVID makes things difficult, and the fact that I had two little babes makes things difficult. But if the stars align and we're able to, I'd love to be able to do it.
Okay, cool. So conversations are in motion.
I don't know if I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not to ruin anything, but it's definitely, you know, it's hard trying to figure out schedules and all those things. But you know, if I can and we can make it happen, I would love to at some point be able to go back.
Very cool. It's amazing that this series has 3 shows in it, right? Like, that's also something very rare from Vampire Diaries original.
Awesome.
Legacies. It's so cool. Another very popular question, would you do a spin-off show on your own, like Rebecca Takes Paris?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to shoot in Paris, sure. Sign me up. Yeah, I would. You know, it's funny. I say all these things, like, I have such a fondness for the show and the characters, and I really love the chance to play Rebecca, but what I love so much more, to be honest, is being a mum and being with my babies and watching them grow up and seeing all the special moments. And that's my priority right now. And, you know, if I weren't able to do that, I think I would struggle. So if I could find a world where I'd be able to do a show like this or play Rebecca again, or, you know, have some kind of experience where I get to do what I love, acting and playing these great characters, and also show up and be the mum that I want to be, and watch my babies grow up, then that would be the dream.
Yeah, good, and good on you that you know exactly what it is you do and don't want. You know, I think that's half the battle, right? It's figuring out like, okay, what exactly is it that I want to do at this point in my life?
It took me a while, honestly, to get there, because when I first had my babies, I really was attached to my identity as a working woman and as an actress, and I really wanted to, you know, jump right back into it and go back to work. And then I realized, you know, after honestly, a lot of therapy and soul searching, that I really, really love being with my babies. And, you know, our job, we have to travel a lot, and it would mean a lot of time away from them. And I'm sort of trying to figure out a balance where I get to take care of me and do the things that I love, and also, you know, be able to be there for them and not traveling and away all the time. So it's a process. I'm trying to figure it out. I still haven't nailed it. I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but at least I've become more clear on what I love and what's important to me. And hopefully I'll be able to navigate sort of being a working mom and, you know, my life in general in the next few years around that.
I have faith you will. You seem like you have a good range of vision. So I believe in you, Claire. I believe in you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last two fan questions. I thought this was kind of fun. Did you like playing a mermaid or a vampire more?
I am going to say a vampire, only because as fun as being a mermaid looks, that was a lot of swimming and long days, and you know, sometimes we swam like 10 hours a day in the tank when we did the tank weeks. So that was pretty intense, and even though we had to deal with the elements, playing a vampire, it wasn't quite as tough.
Yeah, but more messy.
But more messy, yes. I don't know. Yeah, I think vampire. I don't know. It's pass.
And the last fan question. What did you take from the set after you played Rebecca, if anything, or what do you wish you had taken?
I took a lot of her clothes, honestly. They let me take like, well, not a lot, but you know, they gave me one of her coats, and they gave me like all of her great black jeans, which I loved. But I didn't really take any of the props or anything. Like, I didn't get the locket. Just some of her fashion, which was very nice. I was thrilled to take that.
Yeah, she had good clothes. And you wore a lot of wigs, right?
So I wore one wig. Her name was Precious. That's what we called her. And it was like, basically the front part of my hair was out, like this part, and then the rest was a wig. And I loved it. And I'll tell you why. Not because I wanted to have, you know, super long glamorous hair all the time, although that was very nice. But it takes 10 minutes to do your hair in the morning. You just show up and they clip it on. We had these amazing hairstylists. Scotty did my wig every morning, and Victor as well. Shout out. I don't know if they're watching, but I love them. And yeah, so it was 10 minutes. I'd show up. My hair could be disgusting and gross, and just like put in a little pony, some braids, clip it on, ready to go.
That's nice. That's very, very nice. And the last big question, and I thought this was kind of cool, is there a character from the Vampire Diaries and the originals that you felt connected to as a fan?
It's a character that I felt connected to as a fan. Let's see.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, it's really hard because I like my character the best.
That's a good answer too.
I feel like I kind of have to say that, but it was so much fun to play Rebecca. I couldn't imagine connecting to anyone else as much as I did connect to her.
That's a really good point. What do you think Rebecca's main goal was in the course of the entire show? Like, what would have been happiness for her?
I mean, she wanted a family, right? She wanted to have that human experience, which is funny because now I get it. I have a family of my own, and I understand that nothing to me is more important.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a cool parallel. I love that. What's something that you learned about yourself through playing her?
What did I learn about myself?
You grew up. You were growing up during this time as well, you know?
I think just that it's okay to have vulnerabilities and you don't have to be tough all the time. And I always sort of lived my life, or at least in my 20s, as I moved to America and I was, you know, trying to make it and get a job in the acting industry, the entertainment industry. I always like felt like I had to put on this brave face, and that didn't I didn't really expose my vulnerabilities and what sort of hurt me or bothered me. And I think seeing Rebecca have that sort of arc and showing her vulnerable side, I mean, there were a lot of things that helped, right? But that also helped me to become more vulnerable and expressive. And now I'm pretty much an open book, you know. I'm not afraid to tell people how I feel or what I think, or if I'm struggling or if I need support. And that's a really awesome, freeing thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people respond to that. I saw tons of messages coming in saying how you present yourself on social media feels like how you really are in real life. And
Oh, I love that. I try. I mean, I'm certainly not putting on an act, so I'll show it, warts and all, you know.
well, and that's rare, right? That's not usually the case at all. And you go on and talk about things that, like you said, makes you vulnerable. And I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so before I let you go, for all of your fans who are tuned in and ride or die Claire Holt fans, what do you want to say to them?
I love you so, 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 so freaking much. I'm so grateful. I truly think about it all the time. I have received such tremendous support from this community, from the fans of the Vampire Diaries and H2O, and you know, I've felt so much love over the years through the times that I've been struggling or moments that I have not been my best self or that I've needed support. And I just feel so lucky and grateful. And I hope that they know that and they know that that's real and honest. And I know I wouldn't be where I am without them. So thank you.
Oh, something tells me they do know that. They receive that. Claire, you are badass.
Thank you.
You are a businesswoman with your swimwear line, by the way. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been busy, but it's been so fun.
You are awesome. I love getting a chat with you. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Claire. Come on, be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.